Ajenyame, get down my way. Who the driver? Who the rider? Even peace and love could beef with the world, yeah. And if they took it out on each other, you know something wrong with understanding. Antics, tactics. 1 2 1 2 Radio Culture. Good afternoon, good day, good evening, wherever, whatever time it is, wherever if you find yourself, any part of the world you're there. Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. Every time we give thanks and praises. Yes, welcome to the Fireside Reasoning Sessions. And as usual, I am accompanied by my reasoners. I don't know what to call it. Yeah, brethren, same way. You don't know. Yes, we are going straight on the line. We do also have our guest for today, who we are having a bit of difficulty raising. I hope say ahomana and na minsu ase na mo say bonsu bi akwa kotwemu no. They've been able to resolve that, so we can raise Ras Mubarak to join us. But as it is right now, we're going to start. Hopefully he gets the alert and joins the reasoning session. He sits with us by the fireside to reason today. Today, as usual, we will be bringing on board what's on our minds. And then because of time, unfortunately, we'll have to do one item each. So I'm going to go straight ahead and welcome my co-presenters, hosts, Emperor Wiro Rastafari, Dr. Kujo Oponwadie, and also Seven Fireside. Greetings, Virgin. Welcome to Radio Culture. Blessed love.
True.
Yes. Okay. I feel them. Nice. All right. Yes, Nana. Enti Musa then this month, last month here, things which passed through, on the home front and on the international front and on the hidden side, and things, world affairs, home affairs, everything. What's on the plate? 7.
Well, I will go first.
Yeah, go first.
Yeah, I did think of South Africa right now, the elections.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked like Jacob Zuma, the Nkonto was seized with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like people there behind them real strong, right?
Mm.
Yeah, you did try.
That's the ANC, right?
Yeah, it'd be like the ANC people to turn your backs to them now. And, so Zuma from that party, but it looks like a lot of people rooting for him too. But basically, I'm looking at the whole landscape. You got this coalition of Babylon forces, white people running something. You call it an alliance, democratic alliance.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
They too, yeah.
Interesting times.
Make their inroads, but I just think about what were the implications. At this point, I would love to hear what brethren they think about how the things they shape up.
All right, so that's on top of your list. But give us a backup issue just in case we have time to.
You said one, so make we
okay, all right. So make we start with that. Okay, all right. Yeah, you be very, 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 very what's the word? Very reasonable and very compassionate person. You want everybody to have a bite. So
well, I want to listen to things like that.
All the same.
But to learn from.
All the same. We give thanks.
Give thanks.
Yeah, man. Empire.
True.
Mm-hmm. So what's on the plate?
Cool. Yeah, Babylon always try to give us things to talk about,
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, one of the things where man they think about be say them come talk say they can't get no information from Mali and they can't get no information from Niger. But the question be, what do you want to get our information for?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They say media blackout, But I think I think those countries they're working something out. So sometimes when you're working something out, you need minimal distractions.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, that's I've been keep watching that as well.
Nice. Okay, and me personally, I've been, as usual, looking closely at the home front, and I'm completely. Okay. I I I want to pinch myself every now and then to make sure that I'm not dreaming the kind of things that I'm hearing and seeing and observing from a distance going on in Ghana right now. It blows my mind. This is what I mean. We have an attorney general and all these things. Yeah, all these things. When we talk about it, I know say it's them set up still, But the point of the matter is that that setup applies to us because we live in that system. Our children, our families live in that system. So whatever goes on there, we are concerned, So this is the thing though. We have an attorney general who is supposed to be the people's lawyer, right? Let's say somebody travels out of the country and this is kind of related to my thing as well. People travel out of the country, they fall into some type of trouble. Even getting somebody from home to speak on their behalf. A Ghanaian, let's say an American goes to Ghana and falls in any type of trouble. I'll give you an example. When I was in Australia, there was this kid who was all over the news because he went to Bali and smoked some weed and was arrested by the police. Right? The whole government threw their weight behind getting this kid back home. If you are Ghanaian and something like that happens to you, God forbid, who's going to speak for you? That's supposed to be our attorney general. Now, this is the same attorney general who has been caught on tape, first of all, exhibiting gross ignorance about the very law that he's supposed to be attorney general of. And secondly, exhibiting criminal conduct by telling a witness, first of all, you're not supposed to speak with a witness that you are rooting against or whatever.
Ongoing case.
In an ongoing case. Now, as an attorney general who's supposed to be the ahimfie of the law, right? You are caught WhatsApp texting and phone calling and meeting with a guy in a Supreme Court judge's house. Now, that's one aspect people are not even talking about it. And pardon me, I'm extending this because maybe what I'm doing is I'm setting it off, right? So after me, then maybe we can go back to the IDM issues. But that aspect is something that people are not even talking about. The Supreme Court judge. People are like, oh yeah, and the Attorney General and the Attorney General. But what about the Supreme Court judge? Who knows that somebody who's in court shouldn't be coming to your house to hold any type of meeting, let alone one with the Attorney General of Ghana, to discuss what?
Yeah.
So that leaves me thinking, all the innocent people in jail, who is speaking for them? Because these are not people who have access to $1 million contracts with government who may have a little money to bribe. I'm just saying, Yeah. So that's where my head is at, basically. That it really bothers me. It gives me nightmares because that guy, I heard a lot about him, right? Doing similar stuff. But I mean, you hear things about people all the time, especially if you're in the office. So it was like some of the things that we hear until we heard this tape, which nobody can run away from. The tape has been tested, forensically tested. It's his voice. He has not denied it. As a matter of fact, he has admitted that he used to meet with the guy because the guy was asking for a plea bargain, something that has never been established. There are no documents showing that the guy was asking for no plea bargain. And all this just to jail one person. And the thing is that, you know what's most sickening about this Empire and Fireside? Say if you check the whole story, the whole why they are even in court in the first place, right? It involves ambulances that are supposed to carry sick people. to the hospital and stuff like that. Because of this guy trying so hard to jail this opponent, those vehicles, guess what's happening to them? They are sitting in Parliament House and they've been cannibalized. So you're in court trying to jail somebody for causing financial loss to the state, but 300 ambulances are sitting down and have been cannibalized. Yep. I'm assuming that's more than the money that you taking this guy to court for.
Priorities.
What would that make you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's explore that a little bit, and then we'll come back and take the item issue one after the other. I beg, chime in. Who go first? Empire or 7 5?
Please. I want to hear what Doctor wants to say.
Rasta. First of all, as a Supreme Court judge or justice, you will distance yourself from any case and so say whatever ruling you will give, go affirm that institution in terms of the governance of the country. Now, there are many problems here, and I don't say you started by saying that that's a system that we have. But I think most of these systems also, because they be inorganic to our society, the authenticity is often lacking. And by that I mean that this Supreme Court system is really a direct holdover from colonialism. And because of that, these people, they don't take this stuff seriously. The same with the Attorney General. How you the Attorney General, where case they go on, and then you say, let's go meet. In other words, what's going on is that they are settling the case outside.
Basically, staging the case.
Right. They are settling the case outside the court and then just come use the court to do some theatrics and then, pronounce a judgment which has already been decided between whichever Supreme Court justice that was, the Attorney General and the Mr. Japa businessman. I wonder how come. First of all, when the tape came out, up to now, actually, the Attorney General has pretended as if he don't hear what they go on.
He travels. He traveled. He left the country.
Right. In fact, he told Japa.
Already.
And get a fake medical report.
Yes.
And present the fake medical report
to the court. Criminal
so
conduct.
Balance out of the country. And he has something to go do out of the country.
Yeah.
And Japa asked us, why don't you yourself go get a fake medical report? You know what I'm saying? Since you were to travel outside the country, why would it be me prepared that burden?
Yeah.
So there are so many fake things going on. Fake Supreme Court justice, fake Attorney General, fake medical report, fake judgment, just everything fake. And the fake president up to now, he don't make any statement.
No comment on the whole thing.
No. And I don't think you could talk, say, okay, maybe be president, and some people go make the argument, say, he should not be interfering with an ongoing case. But the Attorney General has already interfered with an ongoing court case.
Basically, and the president himself has done that before, because when that guy who was from Canada came back and wanted to be member of parliament, he went telling people that the guy was going to go to jail.
Yeah.
He felt very free to do that. So why can't he do that on behalf of the people of Ghana?
But this is only to show, say, this is a scheme these people have been running and
exactly
slip out. Because the Japan guy was not supposed to go to court and go tell them, say, Papa, if you don't catch your body, I'll go do things for here right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
and as the party no gaje himself, Japan say, oh, okay.
Yeah. And that'd be the part where they shocked me. Oh, he had the audacity to go and try to intimidate the guy in court as well. If this guy had not recorded him, you know,
like
nobody go believe him, and he would have just run roughshod over this guy.
So the thing be, you know, there are many issues here, and for me, I think say, as a country, Ghana, you know, I mean, they say political party and stuff, but we need a national identity and a national ideology.
Yes.
And by that, I mean, there's some things there where, whether you're NDC or MPP or whatever, you know, certain lines there where, you know, if they cross out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If you be Supreme Court judge, we Attorney General call you, I won't come meet for your house. You will ring, you will say, no, Jamaica.
Stop crying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the Attorney General too.
Nice. I think we have Ras Mubarak
even get the audacity or even the thought to think, say, it is okay for me to call the Supreme Court Justice and organize a meeting at his or her house.
Yeah.
So many issues here, but Mango, pause for here.
Give thanks. At this point, let me take a quick moment to introduce. Of course, I already have, and he really needs no introduction. But let me announce that Ras Mubarak has joined us. Ras Mubarak is member of parliament, former member of parliament, I should say, for Kumbungu. Let him clarify if it's east, west, or central. And then I always mess this up though. I'll take the blame. I won't blame nobody. I'll take the blame because we also announced on the thing, say he is a running candidate for the coming elections. He noted that he's not. But with that said, no, I think say everything else is lined up, and let's say blessed love to the one and only indefatigable Ras Mubarak. Ras.
Greetings, Jacquesi.
Yes. One love. How vibes?
It's good to hear your voice, and I believe you're enjoying sunny Dallas.
Yes, I am actually. Just came back from Allen. One long drive like that. It's nice. And you know what that reminded me of is that we had an interview that you were supposed to show up for that you did not show up for in person. I mean, but okay. I just wanted to set you up, make everybody know. Say you know, you held me up like that. But it's all right. We'll talk about that behind the scenes. All right. So as usual, as you know, we have Dr. Kwejo. Say again.
I said, let me also hail up Dr. Kwejo.
Yes.
What year rather?
Upon what year? Yes.
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 Listen, and 7 Fireside, right?
Yes, 7 Fireside.
Yes. Hail him.
Yes, sir. Give thanks.
Yes.
So, you know, right now we're not talking reggae music or anything like that, but coincidentally, all of us are very much linked to reggae music, don't it?
Well, reggae music touches on the things that are very, very important to the people.
Absolutely.
Reggae music suffers music, and right now, the people are in deep straits. The people are suffering, not just in Ghana, but globally.
Yeah.
The UK economy is not doing well. We've got Joe Biden in the US who's not providing leadership. You know, you've got the genocide in Palestine, etc. You know, so we never stray from enjoying and talking about
the things that matter. So, what will be your top pick?
Reggae highlights.
All right. So, what will be your top pick for today? What issue do you want to bring to the fireside?
There's a whole heap of things on my mind. So internationally, South Africa is one. Election is held. The ANC has lost about 13% of the votes or so, 17% actually. You know, judging from their percentage in the last elections, and for me, that is very, very worrying.
It's very worrying and very telling. Lost to who though? Because if they lost to, say, Julius Malema, for instance, I would be in a comfortable zone with that.
Well, they lost some of the votes to MK, which is Jacob Zuma's party. Unfortunately, Julius Maleme's party hasn't made so much of a showing as all of us would have expected. You know, as you would be aware, it's a left party.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where some of us belong. And you know, the white boy then still trying to get a apply. You know, and that is even worrying because if you look at the vote tally so far, they've done over 95%. After you know the ANC, the second party with the highest votes is the Democratic Alliance. You know, which truly and really is a party.
It's a white party.
Yeah. Steady as it is. No killing gloves.
So that is my first. That will be my first topic. Certainly, Palestine is high up on the agenda. What you call it? Biden has, you know, proposed his version of what should be, you know, a peace deal. You know, something that he should have done many months ago. But we are not oblivious to the fact that these guys are racist. They are colonialists. You know, and what they seek to do is to perpetuate their sense of colonialism. You know, I mean, if you look at what is happening in Palestine and Russia, the US and the rest of our racist colonial
white world, yes,
colonial European cousins are arming, you know, Ukrainians against the Russians. Meanwhile, you know, Palestinians are being massacred daily and nothing are going. So I'm sure we'll get into that.
Okay.
Now back home in Ghana, obviously the disgraceful, the scandal, prosecutorial misconduct is high up on people's lips. You know, and for me, on a Saturday evening, I don't want to give it a bite. You know, and also I wait to hear what my co-panelists have to say on that.
Nice. You know what's interesting? Two of those topics cross, you know, are the same topics that have already been put out. And so since you just joined the fireside, let me just let you in on what our topics are. I actually brought and we're noticing that because of time, we may have to do one major topic each, right? If we have time, then we may go and do the second topic. So put your first topic forward, as the case is. So what I'm saying is my topic was the same topic that you just mentioned, the disgraceful conduct of the same person who's supposed to uphold the law in Ghana, right? And then Seven Firesides topic was the South African elections, or is the South African elections. So that, I think, will give us a little bit of time because we can discuss that collectively like that, you know, and then hopefully that we can squeeze a little bit in the spare time that we
and in the process, I think the thing where Brakajo bring up to be crucial when we think of the concept we need to talk about. Sometimes we need to work on things. It's important to say we will block out the world, right? And think of things, because these problems all they lead to how are we mapping a framework for ourselves that works for ourselves. And we're too busy thinking too much about being in conversation with the world, right? So remember say, Rocco just say the media blackout thing, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of let's think about our problem and invent something that works for us, or create something that and we don't do that. We're always referencing other people's models and adapting it, and it doesn't work, but we're upset, right? But to take it, so I think while we're talking about South Africa, we should know that we're doing an election where I know we invent a framework. The political arrangement we invent a way for campaign and promise and all those things. You need financing and all that. It puts the thing on the same track, right? Cool. And then when we talk about the situation, you know, where in the legal system, injustice system for Ghana, and the way,
and that's what it is, injustice system.
That's why there's a need to create another framework. But it implies a clean break, or at least some sort of break from how things be, right? And so I think the thing where, you know, Brock would talk about be crucial. Say, what does it mean to come up, because those brothers in Niger and things, they're thinking in terms of what can we create that works for us versus how can we be in conversation with the world. That's secondary.
Let me ask you, Ras.
Right quick.
Yeah.
I beg before.
Yeah, true. Go to Wiro.
So I want to tie this whole media blackout thing also to the outcome of the Israeli-Palestinian situation for us. Because one thing where they go and be say, for a very long time now, there has been a media blackout on the genocide going on in Sudan and also in the Congo, right? And for us, one of the unintended outcomes of this Palestine Israeli thing is that right now there is interest being generated on what is going on in Sudan and Congo, right? So I think that as we talk about media blackout, we're also looking at how the media blackout Sudan and Congo genocide, right? And how, because of what's going on in Palestine and Israel right now, information they come out more as to what is going on in Sudan and Congo. So just a quick one.
Nice. Give thanks. But yeah, Ras, I wanted to ask you this one real quick. I was hearing something, right? But it's one of the things I haven't checked. But I'm running it by you real quick as I catch you for here. If you heard anything like that, did you hear anything that about the leader of Burkina Faso announcing that he was going to have elections and the people kicking back against that?
Well, I tell you, I was at the AU Day celebration held here in Accra, organized by African ambassadors and high commissions accredited to Accra. And quite the contrary, because even from the Burkina Faso delegation that came to perform, they had a picture of the leader of the junta, you know, and it doesn't come to me as the people are opposed to it. And once you brought it up, let me make this point real quick. We need to define for ourselves the kind of module of development we want. And I was telling somebody in another interview yesterday that, look, in 1992, we accepted and embraced the 4-year electoral cycle.
Yes.
Which we have copied from America. That has practiced, elections for over 250 years or so. Now, for a country that is developing, it may not be an appropriate module for us. And that is why you see a lot of corruption. And that is why you see a lot of shoddy works. And that is why you see, a lot of machinations and winning elections at all costs, leaving behind what really matters to the people. And I was telling the interviewer yesterday that, look, I have some, very radical proposals as far as the governance structure of Ghana is concerned. And one of them is that let's have a 7-year electoral cycle, right, for the presidents. So you hold presidential elections every 7 years, but whoever wins becomes president for 7 years.
For 7 years. Some countries have that.
But for one term, my emphasis is on one term. One term because it saves you resources. Because every 4 years, the Electoral Commission is spending millions and millions of dollars and sitting, to run elections. That money could have gone into building of schools, roads, hospitals, etc. Secondly, I've been in government before. I've been in parliament. I understand how these things work. In all probability, it takes at least 8 months for a government to settle in. Because the president appoints about 3,000 people for ministers and deputies. By the time parliament...
But quick one though, Ras, shouldn't a government in waiting be doing that while in waiting, though, so it saves us those 8 months? Because, you want to govern. Shouldn't you come in, hit the ground running? And sorry to interrupt, but just...
that's a very legitimate point and question that many people are asking them, look, once you're a government, you've got to hit the ground running. The danger and the challenge for governance or governments over the years, from Rawlings, Kufuor, Mills, Mahama, Akufo, is that our politics is a politics of patronage. So you have chiefs who are harassing an elected leader to pick one of their own person. You have pastors and imams who are sending delegation, harassing the president to choose one of their own. And then, special interest groups who have pumped in money, who are harassing the president to choose his person. You may have your list by the time you came in.
But you have to make a reshuffle, until
the balance.
Okay, got it.
And then in striking the balance, you have to make sure that it is in consonance with the constitution. So there's regional balance and then gender balance. All right?
Very hard work.
So that's the danger. Now, if a government is spending about averagely 7-8 months to settle in, he's lost 1 year already. And then the last 1 year of the administration is used to campaign from January to December.
Exactly.
Sometimes even from last quarter of the third year, up until election time. So the president, really and truly has about 1 year and 8 months.
Let's say 2 years. Let's just say 2 years, max.
I mean, for sake of argument, let's say 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's fixation, and I keep saying that our people can't think beyond the next election. So there's fixation with winning elections by any means necessary.
Yeah.
Right? And that's problematic. Now, if you have a 7-year electoral cycle where the president contests only for 1 term, even if it takes a whole year to put his government in place, he's got 6 years to deliver, or 5 years.
Or 5 at least, yeah.
To do something meaningful and something transformational.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of people are not supporting it. I mean, President Kufuor muted this idea.
I was about to say, President Kufuor has muted this idea before, right? Except that he didn't put the emphasis on, like you just stated, the term limit.
I have a question though. Can I join a question?
Of course, fire.
Yes,
Go to
Ras. Because Ras, I love the idea. Say you experience the thing. You do that thing shoulder to shoulder with most of the people in the parliament and thing, right? So what if, right, for this 7 years, right, for some reason, you have a government where it's so fucked up, right? It's like so fucked up.
Great question.
Another day more would be like, nah.
Great question. Then
things they talk about.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a Nigerian situation. We're gonna have some, So I'm not. What you're saying is excellent, right? But
Great question, fire. Great question.
Because it's tied to the idea that we're working with frameworks that are not our base. We're still talking about electoral democracies here. We're universalizing the idea, right? Maybe if we say we're thinking in terms of a leap from that, or clean break, and spending energy thinking about what we can come up with, even if the world is not ready for that. Really, you know what I mean? Because we've done this for decades, right? More than half a century, right? Trying to make this thing work. And let's face it, people have tried, man. Kuma tried. He was dealing with that too. And it was a cutoff point for him. He said, to hell with this thing. President for life. You see what I'm saying? It sounds absurd when we're using the world's lens. When I say the world, I mean the Western world. But I'm just saying that, don't we see that we're fundamentally trying to tweak something? Because there are a lot of fucked up people who could win an election.
Very good point. Very great question. Very good question.
It's absolutely a legitimate point. Now, the reality is that a fucked up person would win a 4-year election term anyway. And if you win a 4-year term anyway, he's gonna, do everything like Biden
to win a second term.
To get a second term.
Like we just had in Ghana, let's face it.
Like we just had in Ghana, it could have been 8 years. So you have a situation of the devil at the deep blue sea. So we're trying to settle for what we have instead of trying to see what can we. Because I see some fresh ideas, right? Instead of settling for what we're dealing with, which is not working, why don't we put more energy into, at least on an experimental basis, right? Find a way
So seven. Hear me out here. Hear me if this will answer your question, right? Or what you just the point or the concern you just raised. What if we maintain Ras's 7-year term limit, right? I mean 7-year term, and then we enter the term limit. But we also put in the strong clauses for impeachment. And by impeachment, I don't mean removing from office and leaving, removing you from whatever duties and leaving you in office and whatever not. Impeachment as in moving your backside from the position and filling the spot with somebody else. Right? Because right now, like I'm sure we all can find some kind of agreement with what Ras said to a certain point, except that we have those concerns. And what you're saying too. Yes. And so if we have that, let's keep that. But then let's make, because right now, if you want to impeach this president, the process that it goes through, it's not easy for people who are really truly concerned to do that. The people who have the power to do that are the people in his court. They will not do that. Right? So what if we have this? Go to Ras.
One of the tragedies of Ghana's history was our docility when Nkrumah was overthrown. And I think if the people had risen up enough and resisted the government, things probably would have been different. I see that same thing around here, right? Where in an election people get killed and nothing happens.
Yes.
Where some nasty things are really happening.
Ras, you're a former member of parliament. There is SAL, which has gone 4 years without representation in parliament and are still paying taxes. What's up with that? Which part of the world have you heard this happening?
Look at how long it took to get, for the president to even remove Ken Oforiatta. It took forever. Now, we the people, on whose authority the government operates, should be able to say, wait a minute, this is not acceptable. We have to engage in civil disobedience, non-violence. We are hitting the streets. We're staying in the street. Because what we have in Ghana is not demonstration. Demonstration where you will come out,
Ras, I hear you, but let me push back a little on that. If we are taking on that you're kind of saying responsibility now, it has to be something that is carved in gold. It doesn't have to be, in my opinion, demonstrations. Because demonstrations, we cannot tell the outcome. They can actually come out there and shoot the same people who are trying to demonstrate. So how about we have that? But we have it etched in the Constitution, say, as private citizen, if 200 people, if 500 people, if 2,000 people can come together and put their signatures on a document, it's a valid document that can be used to impeach the president. How about that? So that the impeachment process doesn't go, the power doesn't go to the people who are in his corner anyway. It's a better no more impeaching, right? But if the power is in the hands of the people who voted, let's say, okay, if we can get representatives from all over Ghana, every region, be at me 10 representatives. That's the Din Shakrata way I say, then the common parliament. Parliament is compelled to start an impeachment process. How about something like that?
Great. But the thing with demonstrations is that you can't always predict the outcome. But you see, if you look at our independence, what actually gave it the spark was the shooting of Sergeant Ajete and Co.
Yes. Yeah, but must we wait for somebody to be shot again, Ras? 8 people were killed during the last election. What would that make you? We appreciate that, but we don't have to bear that burden anymore. It has to be on them now. They can't always put us on the back foot. That's what I think. I'm just saying. I don't know what Ras.
Let me land on.
Please.
I'm not in any way suggesting that anybody should go for a demonstration and get shot. But we, the people, have to make sacrifices. We have to say, look,
true.
The political class has taken us for granted long enough, so we would have to fight for our own future. And irrespective of the outcome of the demonstration, we have what it takes. The power. Power belongs to the people.
So I agree with you. I agree with you completely. I agree with you, except to say that the power still remains in the hands of the people after the demonstration. So let's use the demonstration as a backup. How about that? We start the process and we demonstrate to show the whole world why we are asking you to remove.
I'll give you a typical example.
Yes.
Remember, myself, Raymond Atuguba, Franklin Kujo, Samson Ladia, and organized the No Calls Day campaign, where we said Ghanaians should boycott the making of calls for half a day to hit telecos where it will hurt them the most.
Yes.
So that they stop stealing our data, so that they respect us.
And privacy and all that.
Some people told us we're crazy. Right? Meanwhile, I could sit in my home and even call MTN to come and render a service for me. So, maybe JBPR, and I'm fighting on your behalf, saying, look, let's join hands. If 3 million subscribers do not make calls,
yes,
they'll feel it.
They'll feel it. That's a fact.
And you have the same people that Nkrumah was fighting for. The same people that many of us peers have come to fight for. I said, look, you must be mad, man. I'm not switching off my phone. So
interesting.
And we need to educate the people in the profitability, for want of a better word, of mass movements, of mass protests.
Yes.
That is what needs to change.
Yes.
And throughout human history, you would agree that people have used mass movements, to bring about significant change. You can talk about civil rights in the United States of America. You can talk about women's right to vote, etc. So until our people realize the powers that the Constitution has vested in us, to be able to say, look, we don't agree with the president, and we can even go out there and demonstrate for hours on end, it's going to be difficult, because a politician will be a politician anyway. Your typical politician would still... That's why John Henry Clark said...
I'm happy you've qualified it with your typical, because you are a politician, ain't you, Ras Mubarak? And so was Kwame Nkrumah, by the way. Right?
And so what is politics? I think maybe let's define politics and what is politician.
I want everyone to chime in on that issue, but but maybe we can do that real quick and then...
Let me land on this quote.
Yes. Sure.
And that's why John Henry Clark, said that powerful people would never educate powerless people in what it means to take away the power from them. And he went further to say that the aim of powerful people is to stay in power by any means necessary. So we, the people, would have to understand this.
Yep. Completely. And I agree with everything you said, Ras, except to say that I still want something that's more reliable, so to speak. Say signatures na you bet me start into wo president no who say wo boss ni into any so rub it the wrong way, because to say no, that's why our president gets somewhere and instructs chiefs who by tradition when they sit down or he so sorry not all right, and so Onakasa decided to be sorry there. That's something different. But if we have a president who's instructing chiefs to stand up and greet him because he thinks he's the boss, rather than the servant of the people. Why? Because nobody can remove him. The parliament that can remove him, he has a hold on their balls. Now, what if we had that system where Yanka Sanonsuna you vote him out now betina hono? Uma yibufu pepe ya ignite process anyway, for want of time. Will.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, let me start with the mass movement, right? I think that is a very important thing that we need to consider. But we also have to consider that within the framework of, as I mentioned earlier on, a national ideology, like, an ideology that is above the phrase of any kind of political party. Now, make a tie that into what we really talk about. Imagine, say, this 7-year term that the president, posted the president for her. Imagine that you have this 7-year term. And then, as Kwesi said, there has to be some clauses in the Constitution that allows for impeachment at certain points in time. Let's tie that back into granting you the first 2 years to set up yourself.
Yes.
Right? To govern.
See, it progress.
Let's give you up to 4 years and say that if by the time you get to the 4th year, in this 7-year term, you have not fulfilled like 75%
of your mandate,
the manifesto will be presented to the people. You will resign.
Reliable for, yes.
Or we're going to impeach you.
Quick.
Now, I posted one of the things where it happened for Ghana, in the past 30 years or so, is that the governments are taking the people for granted, Rasta. Like, they come, they make promises, and, they come in and barely fulfill these promises where they make to the people. There are certain things where they go on, where I tell you the other day, for instance, it may be inexcusable. Why we still have parts of Ghana where we struggle with drinking water? Meanwhile, like I said the other day, people, because of this lack of national ideology, people would rather go out and protest because Blasters lost the game in Ivory Coast. And you don't see nobody protesting for, clean drinking water. So I'm just saying that if we had that, and one thing that separates the pre-independence days from now is there was some kind of national ideology which ran on the idea that, for the white man to go.
And now we don't seem to have something like that.
The quote-unquote common enemy.
Ras Mubarak has to say it, because you're saying some very important things about what was it like when you were in Parliament, Brethren, and like, tell me, John, or just go ahead. No.
And let me kind of say, that, and you just summed it up for me. Pre-independence, now was from north to south, from east to west, we all were,
united for a purpose.
We've had a white man for 113 years. It's time for him to go. So even talking about the incidents that precipitated the independence, like the shooting of the policemen, that was just the final act. The people were already ready for the white man to go. They were not united in that. That it was time for the white man, the colonial government, to go. But right now, we lack that national, what we want as a nation. We just divide along political lines. Or even say the politics is now mostly business.
Yes. Yes. Very true. Very true. And the thing is, if you check that time, speaking about the tension, imagine a policeman and a soldier, an ex-serviceman and stuff like that, demonstrating. Normally, shouldn't they be the ones who are being used to stop the demonstrations? But this time around, they were actually in the demonstrations. And I'm saying that to me, it just showed the palpable, you're kind of saying, the vibe at the time, which led to what happened, But Ras Mubarak, I think Fire wanted you to tell us something about how it was when you were in Parliament and stuff like that. Did you want him to be specific about something, or you just wanted like a general?
No, like what the things we were to talk about
right now. Okay, like connect it with that.
Why aren't we like this? Why aren't we looking for, what are our priorities and all that?
And before you come in, though, Ras, let me just quickly make one point. I think, one unfortunate legacy that we were not able to get rid of after the white man left, is the sense of inferiority that we have as a people in Ghana. We were never able to get rid of that. So we still have that mentality of, oh, massa, oh, boss, oh, penny, oh, bossu, So when we see the politician, we see somebody who is superior to us. And say, yeah, didn't say a better challenge more. What would I mention? I'm just saying, I just want to chime that in before Ras comes in.
Yeah, so,
and this is not just for politicians, by the way. It's also for chiefs, for the Osofo these days, for Ejwemu Penyi. When you prepare, now you say, when you prepare, Nyankopon born with a different material be from you or something, you have to like take second second place from them. This is why the politician steals your taxes and comes to your constituency where you need roads and the roads are not there, but about 200 cities. So go and vote for him again. And for some reason, what you can cross saluting that. Anyways, Ras.
So it brings me to my point about the docility of the Ghanaian. And I say this every time I get the opportunity, that our politicians, pardon my French, are fucking us up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They are giving us a 6.9. They are not taking us seriously. And we have come to accept that as normal. So they believe, you just rant and rave on radio and TV and you keep
leave it to go.
That is what I made the point forcefully about, mass protest or civil disobedience.
Yeah.
Now, so typically, nothing has changed. One of the reasons why I left the media and joined politics was the fact that every year in, year out, same old problems.
Same old.
Same old. And I said, look, I can't be in the media and then I'm reporting what the ministers are saying and interviewing them. And, you come back.
Going to make an impact.
Because I believe, and like Kwame Ture said, that if something is wrong and you don't roll up your sleeves to fix it, you are part of the problem. That is the reason for which I went into parliament. And it was tough. I'm glad that in the 4 years that I served in parliament, I left a legacy and a record of being the first member of parliament in Ghana's history to sponsor a private member's bill. As you know, before we pass laws, the laws in their draft form are bills. And then when they are passed into law, they become the laws. Later to my going into parliament, it was the executive, the government that sponsors bills. So you as an individual member of parliament, even if you find something that could help the nation, you can't do much about it if the government is not interested in sponsoring and changing it, right? And I'll give you a typical example. One of the things that I'd wanted us to do is to have laws on party campaign financing. Because I realized that, Charlie, some big money is in the system and you don't know if the money is coming from corruption. Nobody was interested in that. Nobody. Absolutely no one was interested in that. Okay? Again, I made a case for representation for young people, for women, and for TUC. Because I realized for the youth, it's difficult for them to get a leg in the door. If they want to be members of parliament, they have to go and grovel before somebody, who has money, etc. And it's difficult. So I said, look, let's have, so all the student, bodies across the country, they should come together and select 2 people, 1 male, 1 female, as the student rep in parliament to accentuate, the voices of the youth. And let's
Good
have,
move, man.
Crucial
move. From
the trades union.
Did you actually table this? Were you actually able to table this?
These were on the floor of parliament. These are things that I raised at the floor of parliament. I'll share some of those statements with you. These were things that got discussed on the floor of parliament.
I see.
All right? But they are not interested. Currently, it's so difficult for a woman to run for office in Ghana. Chances are she'll be called a prostitute. Chances are...
Or she'll call the witch, like what his name was calling the vice presidential candidate.
They go to people to help them raise money and sleep with them. I see it every day. All right? And for those of us, I have 4 daughters. All right? So if we don't help...
You can't take that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't have that.
Yeah. I'm not trying to live a future where my daughters are going to go through that same nonsense. Nah.
Exactly.
Nah. I'm with you on that. I'm completely with you on that.
Exactly. So there's a lot of work to be done. And like we Rastas say, one hand cannot clap. I mean, and so it's one of the reasons why I lost my primary, because people felt, one, I was too vocal, I was too radical with some of the things I was saying. People felt threatened. Okay? And so they came together, raised money for somebody to go to parliament and defeat me in a primary. You know,
so that things can remain the same.
So that the status quo can remain. You know, so those of us who feel strongly about Ghana, look, my youngest daughter was born in a public hospital. My oldest son is born in a public hospital. 3 of my kids out of 5 were born in a public hospital. And I said, I refuse to take my wife. And Kwesi, as you know, I've done 80 countries around the world.
Yep.
But I refuse to take my wife abroad to go and deliver, because that would be a defeatist mentality. That would be like resigning and saying, oh, there's nothing good that can come out of Africa. Right? And I keep saying, if the politicians are not going to public hospitals, they can't solve the problems in the public hospitals, because who thinks it knows it? If you've never been a sufferer, how do you address the concerns and feelings of sufferers? You don't know, you've never known what it means to be hungry. How do you solve the problem of poverty?
Ras,
you know,
you also involved with the. Okay, all right. Okay.
And you have a system where, you see, if you're a private citizen and you take your wife abroad, I don't have a problem with that, because you're a private citizen and you can do whatever you want to do. But once you're a public official, it's unconscionable to leave public hospitals. And that's why our schools are what they are. Deplorable. When I was growing up, public schools were, top notch. Today, look at what the school system has become. If you don't take your child through private education, don't learn anything in school. And it's happening in our hospitals. And the first time I saw women sleeping on the floor was in 2013, when my wife went to the hospital, to deliver at Kumbungu. First time. And I didn't even believe that things like that were happening. In Kumbungu, women lying on the floor. The people who vote for us, their wives lying on the floor. I mean, how could we put up with that?
Yeah. And that's what I feel why can't even our government, right, provide wooden beds? And this is something that we just easily do.
Yeah.
We have top carpenters in Volta region. A government can contract these carpenters and say, hey, we could build wooden beds. We could put these wooden beds inside the hospitals for people to lay down on. But our government didn't do that. In fact, they won't rather import some hospital bed where it costs $20,000 or even more, for that to qualify as a hospital bed. But those women, where they lay on the floor, they don't need that kind of bed. They just need a bed to lay on.
Very good point. Very good point. Except to say that, again, if they make those beds, where they go put them? We need new hospitals.
That's a good point too, right? I'm saying that, the will has to be there for us to think outside
beyond the yes, absolutely. And that'd be one of our bane, because every time they want to fit within a mold, rather than trying to create the mold.
That's what they do, and we can't continue doing that. Where people are actually maternity wards and stuff. A lot of people, they quench every day because of these kind of things.
Yeah, basic things like surgical gloves, syringes, things like that.
Yeah.
But Ras, you were also involved with at some point, I should say, at least, with that bill. I forget what it's called now, but let's call it the ganja bill for the Ghana, cannabis bill. Tell us about your involvement and educate us a little bit what it's about. And remember, we still haven't touched our matters, so let's do a roundup so we can go to our issues. But yeah, Ras.
So I believe this one will be quick. So again, I am happy to say that I was one of those who made sure that Ghana decriminalized the use of cannabis for industrial and medicinal purposes. right? And that law was passed in the year 2020, just before I left Parliament. And you can imagine how long it took. It took us 4 years from the time that I went to Parliament that we started championing on that. We finally, because the churches were petitioning Parliament not to do it. People were, the media was against us, etc., etc. But we had signs on our side. We had, records on our side. We said, look, the world is changing, right? People are using cannabis for all manner of things, and government is getting tax revenue from, the cultivation of cannabis for industrial and medicinal purposes. Now, what was left? The only thing that was left was for Parliament to pass a regulation. You see, each time we pass a law, we also follow it up with a regulation. The regulation is what we determine or outline how much you should be charged for your license. The regulation is what we say, okay, if you're cultivating on a 10-acre land, you need to pay X amount for your license, etc. And since I left Parliament, nothing has happened. All right? And for me, that is a disgrace that we would pass a law, and then the small document and the the regulation is not as tedious as the work on the law itself is. With the regulation, you can even use one day to pass it, and nobody is interested in pushing this forward. And now the life of this parliament is almost coming to an end because it's 6 months to elections. From 2020, from May 2020 up until now, small regulation, we can't pass it. And imagine the jobs you would have created, the benefits. I've got people who've contacted me from all over the world. They want to come into Ghana and set up factories and do this. I'm like, look, we don't have a regulation. So even if you come and set up, you can't cultivate. Because the law says you need to get a license before you can cultivate. And it's an entire food chain. The benefits are enormous, to the country. Look at KN University. The university that's supposed to be a University of Science and Technology. Chemists at KN University would be busy. Trying to turn,
cannabis into all manner of products.
People who are into marketing will be busy. Drivers will be busy. Farmers will be busy. Retailers will be busy. Wholesalers will be busy.
You know what? Ras, we'll set a date what we need to do, because this issue, I have too many questions, and I know so does Fireside, so does Wiro. So how about we set a later date just to discuss that bill alone and what's in it? Because the amount of confusion around that bill, you have no idea. I'm sure you do, but it's mind-boggling. So let's set a date to discuss just that, okay? So we can, but please land on your point. I just wanted to make that and remind us that we need to also go back to the points that we were going to discuss earlier.
That there hasn't been the right noises. Because if you've passed a bill into law, operationalize it. What is holding you back from operationalizing it? But what I've noticed is
Council and the Catholic Secretariat.
What I've noticed.
That's who's holding them from operationalizing it.
But what I've realized is that a lot of MPs are afraid of touching it because of
the fear backlash. Yeah, and it's election time, so
even in my case, some misguided young people from my constituency went and organized a press conference and said they didn't send me to Parliament to go and
to go and legalize weed.
It's serious too.
Oh Lord.
So there's a level of ignorance in the system.
It's crazy. It is crazy. I don't lie. Anyhow, all right. Okay, so quickly, let's go. Let's try and touch on the issues, quickly, one by one, before we round up. Let's start with Wiro's issue. Wiro, I beg, lead a chart for us. What are your general thoughts about the media blackout, and what would you want to share with us on that?
Well, I think that first, those countries, they are at least somehow clear in the direction they want to move in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they understand our relationship with the colonial master, that relationship has never been abrogated. It's still a continuous relationship. Like, what we have is some kind of pseudo-independence.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for them to actually make some real meaningful progress in their countries, they're like, well, right now we're focusing on ourselves. We don't really need, BBC to be running around our streets all the time. We don't need,
Red Cross,
France 24 and Al Jazeera, all these kind of people. We just want to concentrate. And I think that, from our perspective, we need those kind of situations. Okay. We need those kind of situations because Babylon like to interfere too much.
And they never open up their team, make we go sit inside there, or maybe we go watch them. They do a lot of things we know they see.
Rasta, most of the things that they do, we know they see. In fact,
they block us out and do their thing.
Totally. So I feel say it's a good thing. I mean, I don't know how media people will feel about it, but I think so. The media people for also understand that this is a thing, that a direction that the whole Africa
what people call necessary evil, right?
Absolutely. It's a thing where the whole Africa needs to be thinking about who are we to the rest of the world, and how do we do things for ourselves without necessarily falling in line to what the Western powers want us to do all the time, right? Nigeria, case in point. Right now, they're trying to do some things for the benefit of the people. France needs to be kicked out of Africa. Britain needs to be kicked out of Africa. The real independence needs to be seen, or at least, aspects of it, tenets of it need to begin to be materialized, because it's been a long time since that pseudo-independence was gained. Right now, we need some tangible things. Like, there is no reason why somebody they ask for clean drinking water. That be stock when dry season come. Right, dry season come, then it turn wahala.
And all it takes is a little bit of it. It won't even take $1 million to establish that. But you have politicians driving cars.
These people are not asking for some high tech.
No. Just basics.
You know what I'm saying?
Basics.
In some communities where they go a well go solve their water problem.
In the central region, which is basically sitting on water.
Yeah.
Won't that make you know? If you talk about other parts of Ghana, maybe, but central region, and people are still struggling to find drinking water. Like, I don't get it.
No, I mean, no part of Ghana for even
basically
think about anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Basically, with the proper thinking politicians in place.
And we don't need to always go hire some big Babylon company to come and, tell us do some feasibility studies where you go pay like $40 million for them to do. We go fit to just get some borehole machines or whatever and start sinking some.
We will have our technology already. We'll make us share this with you real quick. Back when I was a boy, my grandmother, my mother actually, was inspector of schools, right, for the Asing area in the central region. So sometimes when she was going to inspect the schools, she would bring me with her. She loved doing that. And I also enjoyed doing that a lot because I saw, it opened my worldview and everything. Now, you know what I saw? Before we were coming, they knew we were coming. They had gone to hide bottles of Coke and soft drinks, Sprite, whatnot, under some bamboo grove bill. So when we came, they went to go bring it. It did like they removed it from some freezer.
Oh, wow.
They had left it there for days, I was told. Because fridge no day that place, electricity no day there. Right? but they have their own ways. They know how to. They know how to do things. So they know how to find water sources. We have ancient ways of doing that. It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's not strange to us,
And this so quick to the day that way, they find time, drive their car, go lobby for vice president candidate and all these kind of things. These are the things where they do in India villages, organize the people. You see, this is why I say we need a national ideology. Who are we? Organize your people, we dig a well. That'll be no hard thing. You know?
And you see, that ties back to our systems, our governance systems, right? Because back in the day,
because Ras Mubarak point, we say the parliamentary system basically is not working. And then we also notice the legal system with the attorney general get chance to even go mess it up some more. So the question we say, should we continue to embrace these institutions, or should we at least make an attempt to
come up with something,
revolutionize them?
Absolutely.
Because OSHA systems, structures, it's really not too different from what we also had, though. The ministers, is the same thing, right? But it's just how they function.
No, it's the concept they're working with.
Yeah.
Look, the U.S. Supreme Court right now is maybe a mirror to what you're talking about, the situation in Ghana, one way or another. If you follow the legal system here, the thing happens Supreme Court level and among DAs, whatever, right? If we talk about any problem with it, like the politicians' their behavior, it's happening here with the congressmen. With the talk as if this will be foolproof and they're doing everything right. The thing is working. It's a corrupt arrangement. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't work. Right? And we there where they try to work so hard to make it work for us. You know what I mean? Instead of saying, look, man, this thing is nonsense. So it doesn't mean that you say it be nonsense, then everything. That'll be the chance where we will say, now make we think of something because we need something. But if we just say, oh, this is all we got, so let's try to work with it, we'll always be saying, man, why is this thing not working? It's working. It's doing what it's supposed to do, fucking things up.
Yeah, because I think, these are some considerations we should have had when we got this kind of pseudo independence from the other kind of things. Are we going to wholeheartedly adopt the institution, or are we going to craft something for our own that works in our own environment? You know what I'm saying? And we think of adopting the system, but we still have an opportunity.
Yes.
If we are nationally conscious to craft something that works in our own environment, something for us by us.
Absolutely.
Because, like you said, particularly in this arrangement of colonial master and colonial subject, this arrangement will continue to work to the benefit of the colonial master and not to us.
Absolutely.
They call it Commonwealth.
All right. Who's the common is on one side and the wealth is on the other. You don't know. The common all there on one side, where the wealth go there the other side. Russ, I beg we have to we're an issue quickly and then we'll move on.
Yeah. So let me add a couple of things. Everything we've said is quite exciting, but I would quote something that Muta Baruka said. He said, you can shout Babylon. You can shout oppression. Babylon will crush you. Our informers are everywhere. Jacques, you remember that quote?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Muta Baruka said that. And Bob Marley said, every time I plant a seed, they say kill it before they grow.
Yeah, man.
So the system now, as it is, anything you do would be difficult to penetrate. I mean, you can't, the kind of revolutionary things we want to do would be difficult to penetrate. So what I think we should do, as His Majesty said, and civil rights activists have all championed this. Organize. And organizing starts from grassroots. Organize. Right? And once we are properly organized, you make inroads into the system. That's how come the Jews control the world. So if you go to, and that's how come, these LGBTQ people control many institutions, whether it's the World Bank or the United Nations, and they are forcing people to change their educational system. Because they realized to use force, they'll be repelled. They realized global opinion was stuck against them. So little by little, it may not happen in our lifetime, but at least we would have set the stage, right? Little by little, what they did was to position themselves. So you see one person somewhere, he fights to get another person somewhere. How is it that those of us who call ourselves Pan-Africanists, right, are not vying so much to be in parliament? What's the difficulty in saying, look, we also want to be there so that our voices can also be heard? Because if Ras Mubarak alone is in parliament, sure, it's just
and Ras, that's one thing I really commend you for. That's one thing I commend you for. You know why? Because you know as well as I do where we're from and how we used to feel about the whole politics thing, right? And that's why that
every day
we would just the bonfire on politicians. That's all we do. We just the bonfire on them, period, and then we just leave them to do what they want to do, which to me is not good enough, And that's why Seven Fireside was asking at some point, say, what is politics, Steph, to start with, So let me ask you that, please, in a sentence or two, quoting from or taking the question from Seven Fireside. What is politics, and what should politics be?
Politics should be about elevating the suffering of the masses and governance, right? That's what politics should be about, uplifting the people.
How do you think the politicians you interacted with understood politics?
Good question.
Well, I mean, again, I come back to your average politician. The average politician sees politics as an avenue to enrich himself.
FYI, this time you were quick to average politician.
That is a reality.
Yeah, man.
So until those of us who feel that, look, we are clean enough, we are conscious enough, until we get in there, the changes will be slow, in a snail pace, because they are not interested in changing the status quo. They are not interested in changing the status quo. So and that is why I come back to organize. If you listen to Kwame Ture, if you listen to His Majesty, if you listen to Malcolm X, Garvey, organize. It's the one thing that we're not doing. So we in the Rasta community, for instance, we say, we've got to legalize cannabis or whatever. And then throughout the process of passing that law, no, apart from Nana Jiman and Ras Mubarak, no Rasta from anywhere said, look, let's also organize ourselves, go to parliament, and present them with a document. For them.
I beg, let me push back small on that, because I happen to know a little bit about that. There's some kind of tension between Nana Jiman that you just mentioned, who seems to be in one corner with his empire group, whatever thing, and the Rastafari people, who I can't say certain things, too much here, but just let's say there's some tension. Now, the last time I interviewed both of them on the same phone call, on the same platform, what I gathered was that President Kex was saying that they were not even informed of the meeting, right?
Which meeting?
Of the same meeting that we saw with Nana Jima in Krabia in Parliament. The whole process that even brought them to be seen in Parliament in the first place.
Parliament was telecast on TV every day. I mean, it's discussed on radio. It's in the newspapers.
Ras, so it's one thing being discussed on newspapers. It's another thing having people who have access. And you know what I'm talking about because you've been there. You know what it is to get access to.
I was in the thick of things.
Yes.
Parliament has a public gallery where any and every Ghanaian or visitor can go and sit and watch proceedings. And for about 8 months, every day we were discussing the debate, because the thing had to go through clause by clause consideration. In Krabia and the National, where in Parliament, every day. It's called solidarity.
Okay, so what would have stopped them? What would have stopped them, Ras? What would have stopped them from informing Bosco and Kex and all those people and getting the mass support, which has already been organized? Because we are rallying for something which say Rases have a vital interest in. There's a whole lot of politics around that issue, and that's why I was trying to pull your brakes on that. Because what it is that there's also a commercial angle to the thing. And I've spoken to certain people who are trying to front about, we're bringing investment to Ghana. And when you dig deep down, that because I was speaking to somebody, I won't mention their name, who is in that corner, who was telling me, say, Ghanaians are going to benefit. I was like, okay, how are Ghanaians going to benefit? But the farmers and are you serious? We're fighting to get ganja legalized so that all we can benefit from is being the farmers? Who would I make sure? No. Whereas in places like New York, and this in Seven will also have something to say. I know every time I bring it up, he has a reaction to that, But in New York, they have things like people who have been persecuted for ganja. They get a certain blind when they're even looking for a license.
But you've even gone in Ghana, people are getting 10 years in jail, etc.
That's what I'm saying. So why not try reverse it and say, okay, if you have been persecuted for that now, at least there was some compensation. It's easier for you to get a license for it. People can't even afford the license. And from my little investigation, which I couldn't dig out too much, I'll be knocking on your door very soon because I'm still digging, Ras. But from what I heard, the amount of money that you need to even get the license, the amount of land, the acreage of land that you need to qualify to get the license. Which of our races have that type of money and land? They don't. So we are fighting for something where eventually, we have some people who come from abroad and say, they are going to be the farmers and we are going to put in our dollars. It's a trick. It's a slippery slope. We will discuss. Ras, you better not fraud near discuss here the way in itself.
No problem. Let me make a quick point.
Please.
So anyone who tells you the amount of money, they don't know what they're talking about.
Okay.
Because the regulation hasn't been passed. The regulation hasn't been passed. So there's no amount of money anywhere.
Okay, it's not been even decided yet.
That is point number one.
Okay.
Point number two. The individualistic way of doing things is one of our pain as Black people and Africans. So if you don't have the resources, but you have some know-how on cultivating and on cultivation, why don't you partner with somebody who can also bring in his machinery?
Yes, as long as there's some kind of equity in there. That's my whole point. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with partnering, but where's the equity if we are only going to be the farmers?
The point is, somebody has to cultivate.
Yes.
Somebody has to turn the finished cultivated product into something else, whether oil, whether medicine, whatever.
Yes.
And the point I'm making is, EWF, Bobo, or a group of Rastas can say, look, come on, we have Rasta brethren all over the world. Who can we get to even supply seedling? Because the kind of things we have legalized, it requires special seedling. 0.5% of THC. And your ganja na no more Ghana no. Parliament passing.
No.
And it was deliberate. The reason why we did that, you see, they will mess you up. Once you have decriminalized for industrial and medicinal purposes,
it opens the doors for I've heard that argument being made.
Exactly. Everybody's happy. Jobs are created. then you can, right now, if you go online, New York, California, wherever, Canada, you can pick the data and say, look, this is how much the state of California is getting from cannabis cultivation.
Mm-hmm.
You can make an argument from it. Once you open that door where we could say, look, this is how much is bringing in. Mm-hmm. This is how much schools we are, we're building from cannabis sales.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the Rastas were interested in recreational decriminalization. And who's going to support that? Even medicinal and industrial. Pastors, and don't forget, the pastors are very influential in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
The pastors were sending delegations. It took hell to even get the president to sign it off. Once we passed it from Parliament, it took him months to sign it off.
At least
because
he did
there
sign.
Were petitions or competition for him not to sign. And you see, if you are, our opponent is the system. Our opponent is Babylon. If you don't study Babylon and know how the system operates, you can't beat them.
You certainly can't beat them to their own game, though. That's one thing we have to remember.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because they are powerful, they control the media, they have resources. In our community, Rasta Pan-African community, what have you got?
We're not even united to start with.
We don't even have ourselves. We're
Good
too
point.
divided. We're fighting among ourselves.
Good point.
Over things that are unnecessary. We should be looking at the bigger picture. Industrialization, becoming financially involved and financially independent. That's how come the Jews are running the show. Every damn US politician, almost every one of them, is in the pocket of the Israeli lobby. IPAC, every one of them, almost every one of them. And you think you with fireborn, you can make a change? No way. So the brothers have to understand.
Fireborn has its place. I would say though, Fireborn has its place, but we did more than Fireborn to make things happen. The Fireborn there, we don't go stop that one there. The fire there, we don't go stop but that one there. But it has its place. You don't know. All right. So we have about half an hour left. Let's quickly touch on the other issues. I hope so we can fit them in. So in South African elections, you've brought it up, David has brought it up. I think Wiro, so chime in on that real quick and then let's see.
South African elections, for me personally, I think that it's time for ANC has been, for the lack of a better word, the party of choice for the Western governments for a long time.
Ironically,
nothing has really changed in terms of economic well-being of the people of South Africa ever since the apartheid regime was removed. And so there are still vestiges of apartheid, particularly economic apartheid, in South Africa right now. And I think that it's a good time for South Africa as a nation to reflect and say, we've given ANC the mandate for a long time and they have not really carried out what they were supposed to do on behalf of the people and time to try something else. I personally, if things had worked, the pendulum has swung in favor of Malema, I think would have been a good move for Africa back. Maybe EFF is not ready yet. I don't know what the situation is. But, I think change, some kind of change is good for South Africa because, sometimes the political parties, they get too comfortable in their positions and take it for granted.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. Seven Fireside. So give us your central, vibes on the issue and whilst you're doing that, can I ask you to please throw in this? Why do you think that Julius Malema is so attractive to other Africans outside of Africa, but he doesn't seem to be igniting strongly enough to make a political impact in South Africa? And Ras, I would like you to take that on as well after 7, please.
First thing I think, Sabi, like Ras Mubarak was saying, we can stay here and talk fire burn and this and that and that. It's when you're removed from the action, the bread and butter issues, and even for a few seconds, it's easy to talk a certain way, the ideal way, right? But when in South Africa, so if I hear Malema just say that, right, it fires me up if I dare hear. Even in South Africa, I fire people up, but there are other people who first think like, look, man, this thing is not practical for me, right? If you go take the farms from the white people right now, whatever answer the story they go tell themselves. If you go come and you say you're socializing the economy based on their understanding, they've lost out on something. So they don't go work with that. It happened all the time. Like if you look at every country, the people where they have like Ras Mubarak was a minority in there. At the same point where you could say a lot more Rastas there, they're going to make a difference. But that's another conversation altogether because I think that we're still using a framework that we didn't create. It doesn't change because we change the contents. But what you did was significant. I tried to read what you did do in terms of something that was outside of that framework. You have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You're doing something that doesn't represent what that thing is set up for. But unfortunately, we all learn to become very good actors in that framework. You're the exception as far as money here. The moves you to make where they stand alone. But what I think is if we just go stuff Rasta people inside Parliament, we go have serious problems and we go to wonder why. It will come back to the same things. Might just still say, let's overrule them. I know you talk about go against the world. Like, it's not like, but you were saying something like to go up against the world, Babylon go crush you, whatever. That's not even what I'm thinking in terms of it. We're not going on an assault. We're just saying that let's think of something that works for us, which is going to be a break from that thing that we're trying to make do with. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Nice.
If we understand, what we talk about is outside of that framework. You can call it a parliament too. You can name it whatever. But that thing where we didn't need, where we have precedent, we get deep history of things that were done in different times. And then we can imagine too, a lot of energy must go into what can we construct where they fit our situation. That's how I read that part of the thing. So South Africa right now is just reflecting what electoral systems are. The government over there is reflecting what governments are in the world that Europe has created. Now what we could create as Africans. Because that's what we need.
Interesting. And say the Igbo people of Nigeria, for instance, right, have a template that I think we should look at. They have a system of governance that predates what is being practiced now. And that system has representation which stems from families and doesn't have a king. I don't know if any of us have studied the Igbo culture closely, but they have a culture where they don't have kings. Rather, they have a system of governance where people are represented and the representation emanates from families. So if you check it out, everybody is represented if the representation emanates from families.
Yeah, other parts of Africa have similar things.
So anyhow, all right. So okay, my thing though on the South Africa thing is that I just wish that Malema would make a better appearance, because what it is that what the ANC stood for in the days pre-independence, in the days of apartheid, the messaging, the posture, the body language of the ANC has completely changed. And now the Malema's party seems to be the party that's representing that, And so for those of us who had a certain picture of freedom, of independence, of a thriving black country called South Africa, when we see what's happening right now, we can only wish that Malema can do a little more. But I have to mention also that Malema is not somebody who gets his credibility from no book. That's why I love that guy. He's original. He's like a raw gem. He's, what I'm saying? When he's so original. He's so original that I've not seen that guy run away from any question that was posed to him. Not once. And he has been asked the most difficult questions that politicians would typically want to escape from, right? Because it's dangerous. It's a slippery slope. He tackles every and anything. And while I end on that, recently I watched a video where he was attending a CEO's dinner or something like that. And he made a point that brought goosebumps on me, and it stayed with me forever. And I think I will be quoting it for quite a while. He said to the CEOs, he says, listen, every time you sign a paycheck, remember that you are feeding a whole family. You dig? Because you have 200 paychecks to sign. And so they are just like pieces of paper in front of you. But each of them is representing the livelihood of an entire family. That guy, I think that we should watch him more closely. Anyway, all right.
The brethren is doing some serious thing.
He is. He is. All right. So now let's go to what was the other issue, Crapo? And we have
Attorney General.
Attorney General. We have 20 minutes. Let's deal with that. I think it's vital.
Okay, so let me come in on South Africa.
Yes, please.
And I think it's quite tragic. The ANC, the party of the masses, the ANC is like CPP. All of a sudden is losing ground. And if care is not taken, it would be obliterated so badly. Well, politics in Africa is very, very expensive. To run for office.
Yes.
As MP, as president, extremely expensive. South Africans are using the parliamentary system. In Ghana here, to have a fighting chance of becoming president, you should be looking at $50 million. Nothing less than that. $50 million. Yeah, man.
Charlie, but $50 million can build a whole brand new capital for Ghana.
No, it can't do anything.
I'm exaggerating, but I mean,
Malaysia did Putrajaya 29 years ago, at $9 billion.
Billion, okay. How much did Abuja cost? Do you know?
Abuja 80s, I don't know.
Okay.
The Indonesians are doing something. It's costing them 40 billion. They're also moving
their capital.
The administrative capital from Kuala Lumpur. Yeah. No, sorry, Kuala Lumpur is Malaysia. The Indonesia is Jakarta. It's costing them 40 billion.
Wow.
Recently, I did an article on this capital thing. But anyway, that's just a whole topic. But the point I'm making is that the ANC has disappointed, a lot of their followers because it's been beset by issues of corruption, and they haven't been able to deal with those issues of corruption decisively. I mean, if you're a group and one of you misconduct themselves and one of you go contrary to the principle for which the group was created, throw them under the bus. Because no single individual should be bigger than the collective. Right? And because they have sat there and watched things degenerate, people have lost a lot of confidence in them. There's the issue of bread and butter. People don't have jobs. And that is why issues of xenophobia keep coming up.
That is big over there. That is huge over there.
Man. People got to eat.
Yeah. People got to. I mean, now South Africa can't even keep the lights on. Yeah. They can't keep the taps running. So if you tell a young man who is 25 years or 18 years or 29 years that this is the party of independence, Charlie, Ontario.
No, independence now what kind of call Nima the crop because they were born at a time where there was not one with them channel. It's like the go through.
The man or woman needs lights to be able to do some small hustle online, or study online or something.
Yeah.
And they can't get the light.
Yeah.
Nothing you would say would convince them that we are the party of the future. So ANC, this should be a huge lesson for them. The danger is that the white boys have made a lot of inroads for me because they came second in the elections. For me, in South Africa, they have the second highest votes.
Apparently.
Before Nkonto,
Nkonto is the third with the highest, and Julius Malema's thing is the fourth. Right?
Wow.
So all of these things need to be sorted out, and that is why every now and then Malema will talk about economic empowerment. Charlie, we can't remove our eyes off that.
Yes.
If we don't have a strategy of empowering ourselves economically.
Yes.
We don't have a fighting chance.
Yes, that's true.
We don't have a fighting chance. But that has to change. And that brings me, I just dovetail it into a couple of issues. Congo, even though it wasn't part of our thing, Congo.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Now, mentioned it earlier too, right?
Okay. Now, Congo and Sudan are completely different from what is happening in Palestine. The thing in Palestine is a colonial thing, as all of us know. Right? In
same with Congo and Sudan.
No. The point I'm making is that it's the government against the rebels. In the Congo, it's the government against the rebels. In Sudan, it's the government against the rebels. Okay?
But the extent of forces it was controlling the governments of Congo and Sudan. Those are colonial power.
So even though there are instances of exploitation, but if you, as brothers, can't sit together to realize that, look, you are being used, you are being played, then you've got a serious problem. So I think the African Union would have to be up and doing and send, not just negotiators, but peacekeepers to keep the peace. In the Congo, in Sudan, and everywhere else, we have conflicts on the African continent. Because these are places, Congo should be feeding itself and feeding other people. Congo is rich beyond measure.
Fabulous.
But if you look at the thing in Congo, the people who are exploiting the Congolese, just as what is happening in Haiti, are the same Zionists, who are exploiting, these Congolese, all right, and the Haitians in Central America. So as Africans, we've got to come to a common ground where we look at the bigger picture. I think one of you mentioned it, national agenda, African agenda, for us as Congolese, for us as Sudanese, for us as Ghanaians, what is in the best national interest.
All right.
So that if a third party comes from Europe, to play us, we can figure it out and say, no, as for this one,
we are reverting to the national agenda.
We're reverting to the national agenda. I think that should be how these things should be approached. It's tragic. Nice. I've seen the pictures and videos from Congo and Sudan, and it's just tragic. And that is why, again, controlling economic issues. We don't even have the media. In Africa, we take stories from BBC and CNN and Al Jazeera. Yep. So something is happening in Togo or Benin. Then Joy FM or GBC would pick feed from
Charlie,
BBC or CNN.
I will give you an example. And then I said some time ago, BBC reporter, Ekoko reporter, say Ghanaians were queuing for food or some nonsense like that. And then the former first lady, Lordina Mahama, kicked against that, chastised BBC for that, and corrected them, saying, in Ghana, we are disciplined enough. Say when we are going to buy wache and it's more than a few people, we queue up to buy the wache. It does not mean say there's hunger or anything like that. And then later on, it came out, said the person of true story, he was writing from Nigeria. BBC reporter based in Nigeria, and all trust her story. He didn't even know what he was even talking about, Seth. But anyways, Ras, I can't a few minutes going. Let's try and dig into the Supreme Court.
Yeah, quickly. I remember vividly when I was at GBC, and Lucky Dube passed away in 2006 or 7 there around. I said, look, let's go to South Africa. They said, hey, we don't have the money. I said, look, it's wrong for something to happen on the African continent for you to tell stories from BBC and CNN. I went directly to the Director General. Of course, you may remember this. I went and covered Lucky Dube's funeral from South Africa.
Yeah.
Good.
BBC. Right? So as Africans, we should also be a lot more...
set our own standards and try to achieve the levels. Nice. All right, Ras, let's dig into the Supreme Court because I'm really, really eager to hear what, I mean, you scratched the surface. I think I did a bit more in-depth, so the floor is really open for the rest of you. But I can't just 12 or so minutes per. So let's try and let's break it down. Let's spend about 3 minutes each and pack it with as much as we have in terms of our thoughts on that issue.
Okay, you want me to go first? Sure.
Yeah, why not? No, actually, okay. Let's have 7 Fireside coming first.
Oh man, I just talk.
Oh, then yes, still.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear Ras Mubarak more because
okay. So you just sum up, just sum it up for us quickly in like a line or two,
just
and
give
then
us all the angles where you think you go forgive us on different topics, different things we're talking. Just
okay.
feel free and just
all right.
What do you want us to think about?
Okay, so then Wiro, you go first, and then Ras will take it up. So we can round it up with that.
Empire,
Mm-hmm.
You say first on what?
On Supreme Court issue. No, what are your your thoughts on that?
I think that is a matter of how do I put it? It's a very serious matter, and I think that right now the way I'm looking, some politicians are just, especially those who belong to the party in power, are looking for the matter to kind of die out, or
yes,
kind of like a natural death.
Yes,
but it's not something that should be allowed to die a natural death at all. It will have great implications for generations to come.
Yes, precedent.
The country needs to rise up, and by that I mean that really and truly, that guy could potentially be able to go to jail for something like that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But don't say they're not really going to put him in jail or whatever. He should be forced to resign, and not only the Attorney General, but whichever Supreme Court justice that was organizing the meeting in his or her house.
Yes.
Should the bench. I mean, Charlie
should lose their law license.
And I think that we should take it the way, in all seriousness, we should give it the attention that it deserves. So that'd be what I would say.
Nice, give thanks. So yeah, I think Semida have said enough about it already. So, but Ras, before as you come in, add this for me, because there was a press conference and the chairman of your party indicated, say, if this government refuses to make the Attorney General resign or to prosecute the incoming John Mahama government and incoming Mahama government, I should say, will prosecute him. They've put that signal out. And to throw that in your general reaction about the whole thing and take about 4 minutes or so, young Fadia can around there, please.
Well, certainly that is what ought to happen, because one, on the discussion, so the contract is worth 2-point-something million euros, right? And one of the parties said they were going to pay 2 million euros to do a plea bargain. And you, as the Attorney General, you said no, you wouldn't take it. So even on that score, it can be classified as causing financial loss to the state.
Basically.
Because one of the things with these kinds of lawsuits is that you should be able to retrieve, some of the monies to the state. And for the AG to have taken that position clearly is indicative of the fact that they were not interested in retrieving the money. They're just interested in going Ato Forsen. And I understand why they're going after Ato Forsen. Ato had frustrated them a lot in Parliament on financial issues. Before he became minority leader.
Yeah.
Yes, before he became the minority leader, he was the ranking member on the finance committee. So for a lot of the things relating to finance, it goes to the finance committee before it comes to the floor of Parliament. Ato had frustrated them, he had embarrassed them on the floor, and as we may have heard from some of the tapes, the third accused person is indicating that the AG told him that he's not after him, but it is Ato Forsen, the president and the former finance minister told him that they just want to go after Ato Forsen. And that is why the AG wanted the third accused person, to literally dance to his tune, which he said he couldn't do so because
his conscience wasn't right.
Right. So it's a very, very bad situation. We've never experienced anything like this in modern history. Okay? And for me, the president...
Are you surprised?
Well, nothing about the NPP surprises me, to be honest with you. Nothing about the NPP.
But beyond the NPP, Doras, isn't it more of a system issue than that? Because maybe this was happening on a certain level where they were decorous enough to keep it on the wraps, right? Because I've heard about judges being seen outside of the court and being, spoken to, quote unquote, kohune mame,
taking goat
and kontomre and all of that, snails and all of that. But to the degree where the person who is supposed to be defending the citizens is actually the one who is engaged in that. And you know what actually bothers me a lot is that an attorney general should be smart enough to know that this guy could be recording me.
Well, so he's not smart. I mean that is clear, because even my 10-year-old daughter would not even do a thing like that.
Yes.
I am a lifelong advocate for opportunities for young people.
Mm-hmm.
The Attorney General will be 45 years in a few days from now. I think he was born on the 7th of June or so.
Mm.
Okay, so his young inexperience has played a part, which makes nonsense of the kinds of things that people like myself are trying to do to get more and more young people in position of governance and responsibility. So it's most tragic, most unfortunate. Now, he's also somebody who is not principled, because if he was principled, one, he wouldn't have done any of the things that he's done. Secondly, he would have resigned by now. But
but Ras, when you said Papa Wesusono, he came through Akufado's chambers, right? So just imagine that scenario. Sometimes I feel sorry for him, to be honest with you, because there's two things here. It could be that he himself is as diabolical as is being portrayed he is, or it could be that he's dancing to the tune of a certain piper beer. He cannot resist that tune. Because he came to Akufado's chambers. He's like this guy's protege. And all of a sudden, a young person, like you just stated, now our mouth so straight, Attorney General. Won't that make sense? And zombie no go move unless you tell them to move.
So this guy, when he was Deputy Attorney General, plotted, he schemed to have his boss, Gloria Akufo, removed as Attorney General. I mean, she's in her 70s now. Very, very competent senior lawyer. She's been practicing law from 1984. Very, very competent, right? But he was fixated with becoming the youngest Attorney General in Ghana's history.
That's an opinion you are expressing, or there's proof to what you're saying?
No, that's the reality. He was fixated, even at his vetting. He said he's most excited to be the youngest Attorney General in Ghana's history. I mean, it means nothing if you can't use that position
to better people's lives
and to bring about justice.
And Ras, isn't it the same Attorney General Yenya case Biwall, England or so? He was supposed to show up and he says because of COVID he couldn't go, and Ghana lost some millions of dollars. Same person.
He's the same person. He's the same person. He's the same person. And because Akufo-Addo is so out of touch, unfortunately, I mean, don't forget, the man is 80 plus, and that is one of the challenges with African politics. Are we saying that in the entire NPP there's nobody who's competent enough? We all know.
But Ras, again, and sorry we actually should be rounding up, but let me kick back a little bit on that as well, push back a little bit on that, because I have started a campaign against age shaming, right? Because there are some young people who are more devious and daft than the old people that we are talking about. Now, for instance, if we have somebody like Kwame Pianim, you cannot tell me, say, Kwame Pianim will not be functional as if you have somebody like, we can give you a litany of people, right? And when it comes to mentioning age,
my principal position, and that is why when we nominated Jane Nana Opoku as
vice presidential candidate,
I kicked against it.
Why?
She's currently 73.
She's fabulous.
73. By the time Mama finishes his term, she'll be 77, going to 78. I feel there comes a time in everyone's life where you have to build, where you have to make room. Because imagine if all the 70s and 80-year-olds are still holding on to their positions. The youth would never get a blight.
Yes, but Ras, what if the wisdom at that time, what if the ability at the time resides in an 80-year-old and all the younger people are doing is dancing azonto and snuffing tramadol?
How old was Christ? How old was Muhammad?
Of course, we can always make that case. But I'm also saying, though, how old was Abraham and Methuselah?
That's an exception.
So let's have an exception.
The point I'm making to you is that look at Nkrumah. Nkrumah was in his early 40s. Look at Jerry Rawlings.
Yeah, energetic. Yes.
Jerry Rawlings was in his early 30s. And everyone around Jerry Rawlings in the 80s was either in their late 20s or early 30s. But look at what they did. You know how they rallied the country, got everybody to work their socks off to get us out of the situation we were in until, we signed up to this nonsensical structural adjustment project, program, which is another topic for discussion.
For its own, yeah.
But in Ghana, all the kind presidents are more body.
But how about, I was about to say a champion. No, what is saying?
Look at a champion. A champion is a student of Nkrumah. A champion was very, very young. Okay, so the thing with youth is that youthfulness comes with energy and creativity.
I agree. Except to say that there could also be that exception.
And that is why, Kwesi, even when I was head of the youth authority, my position on work experience is that, look, if a young man comes looking for a job and they say, what is his work experience? How would he get a work experience
when he's just coming out of college? Yeah.
If he's never worked. So my position on these things have always been that give the young people the opportunity, they will get the work experience. But what they lose in experience, they make up for it in energy,
exuberance. Yes. Fact.
You see what I mean?
Yes. Fact.
So Akufo-Addo is 80. He's sleeping. He's not in touch. He's completely out of touch. It is. I
think it's his personality. I don't think that it has anything to do with age, because I don't believe if you put Kwame Pianim or Sam Jonah in those chairs that they will sleep. I don't believe so. But that's just me. Anyways. All right. Yes, Charlie. You're part-time in 2 minutes, but it's completely worth it. Aya, give thanks. Ras. Now we should have you back many, many times over. Right, but as we go forward, yes, many times over. I think you should definitely be by the fireside with us every time we sit. As a matter of fact, but definitely we should make a day to discuss the bill, the ganja bill. No, and please, you sent me a ton of information. I'm still reading what you sent me. Believe me, I haven't even finished reading what you sent me. But we need to break it down because there's way too much ignorance around that bill. Okay, so we'll invite you again for that. And then we'll also invite you to discuss other issues of national and continental interest. In the meantime, let's give 1 quick minute to each of us to round up quickly. Wiro, yatonka chekakra. Final words. Empire. Yeah, man. Final words, Aya.
Give thanks. I think I give thanks for the reasoning. Give thanks to Ras Mubarak. Give thanks to Empire. I think that whatever we think about and reason about and imagine, even when we use Ghana as a pilot project, as Kwame Nkrumah said, it will be meaningless unless it is tied to the total liberation
of the African continent
and its children all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we always want to use that perspective. Give thanks for the reason.
Every time, blessed love. Yes. All right, 7.
Yeah, give thanks. And money here through the reasonings how we're willing to think about something which is not necessarily there. As I say, the questions really to pose. Beloved, the things Ras Mubarak to say, the things Prof to say, I should say is all about that's something else what we need, So I think the more we encourage each other to, or like you say, when we talk about ignorance, a lot of people don't know about we're thinking a certain way. I think we don't have a lot of these ideas on our minds, right? So we say we need to educate our people and all that. These are the things, So I think the idea of innovation, thinking of invention, doing something maybe that's not there. That's if the brethren had waited for someone to do it before, someone to agree with him, he would have pushed all these things about getting the young brothers and the young sisters to represent parliament, unions, the ganja team. These are moves where nobody was making them and he made them. So innovating, inventing all those things, we need to nourish those things, nurture those things, nourish them amongst us. That's what I think. But that's what I'm hearing.
Sharp. All right, Russ. Final words. 4 words.
Give thanks for the reason. I really appreciate the opportunity to reason with my brothers, and I pray that we keep our conversation on Africa, Ghana, at the centerpiece of everything that we do. Because Charlie, we love the continent, we love our country, and it's the only continent we have that we can proudly call our own.
Yes.
So with whatever knowledge and inspiration and information we have, let's endeavor to share it with younger ones, especially because the youth have a lot of information at their disposal, but some of those informations are negative information, So let's try and conscientize our people through programs like this and uplift ourselves, through engagements like this.
Give thanks all the time. Give thanks. And yes, I would just end by saying that I really give thanks for sharp minds like these who are not selfish to keep their wisdom to themselves, but to step out and be willing enough to sacrifice their time and more than their time, because that's what we're doing, to share our thoughts with the whole entire world, So I give thanks to the one called 7 Fireside. I give thanks for the one called Dr. Kujo Oponwadie Wiro I Rastafari. And of course, our man of the day, the man who joined us by the fireside today, Ras Mubarak, former member of parliament, avid traveler. Charlie, we didn't command I remember when you went to Palestine and the Israeli government was messing with you, then you messaged me. I'm like, whoa, Charlie, you I remember your boxing bout with your quote unquote boxing bout with the Israeli you can't say ambassador in Ghana. Now, wow. Anyways, so as I said, we'll be inviting you a lot more, to rub off your wisdom and your insights a little bit every now and then. In the meantime, people, thank you very much for doing the listening. For those of you who are listening to us on www.gnewsnow.com, thank you very much. Those of you on modernghana.com, we say thank you very much for doing the listening. And especially for everybody who has taken the trouble to download the app. Please, if you encounter any trouble with the app, you know where to go. There's a number attached to it. But as of now, as we speak, the app is fully functional. So thank you very much, everybody who's also listening on the app. And of course, for those of you who are catching us on social media, we do appreciate your time and your energy as well. Spread the word. My name is Kwesi Esonbako. This is Radio Culture. And as I always say, I come in peace. I come not to please. And I believe I can say that on behalf of my panel for today. Until next month, as it is, first Saturday of the month, first Saturday of next month is when we're coming back. We're coming your way again with the fireside reasoning session. Till such times, my name is Kwesi Sonbak one more time. I'll leave you with the music of 7 Fireside. Calls this one Proxy. Till such times, one love.
Hashtag transactional acquisition. Worship God cause of daily bread. Money economy must get deleted. They sell news. Just got back from Mars. Holding ultra-highly coded farm. Cause dyslexia becomes aphasia. Cause social climate is like and have that. They felt used in a proxy war. Won't go along with it no more. She made a promise as a child. She never broke her rights. Oh, the story narrated. Imagine her.